good morning and good evening because I'm with Björn, who's in Sweden, if I remember right, and I'm over here in Arizona. But welcome everyone. I'm Kevin Carpenter, kind of become a professional volunteer, and this morning we're talking with Björn about ACCU and his anchor keynote. Well, I take the anchor to be the last one, but Björn, welcome. How are you doing this evening?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this. Uh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm having a week off until Easter, until after Easter weekend. So it's great.
So it's funny because I was asking before we started. I know you have snow in the background there, and today it'll be, well, I'm not good at my Fahrenheit to Celsius conversions, but we'll be about 68 degrees here in Phoenix. So I'll get to the reason why I'm picking up the two different ends of the world. But anyways, it's great to chat with you. So I want to dig right in. So it's wow, there's all kinds of things. So I met Bjorn. I think we really got to meet our first time when we were sitting at the table together at CPP on C.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
And got to see a meeting C++ too.
Yes.
But ACCU, to everyone, this is my first year going to ACCU, so I'm super excited about that. But I'd started volunteering at CPPCon in 2018, and ACCU, your first talk was in 2017?
Maybe. I probably should have looked that up, but it sounds reasonable. Probably correct.
I think it was for your mocking library. What was the name of that?
I'm mispronouncing it because I really don't speak French, but it's Trompeloeil. So
Okay.
It literally means to trick the eye. So it's an art form that Trompeloeil is an art form where you create a piece that makes you believe it's something else than it is, which I think is a fitting name for a mocking framework.
That is, and I have to laugh because I remembered seeing the name, but I didn't want to try to pronounce it either. So, thanks for taking that one for me. So that's pretty cool. Do you still work on it actively? I have not used it. I mean, we use mocking a little bit in my day-to-day job.
Yeah. Yes, I am working on it. It's not a lot of work anymore because it's mature.
Yeah.
But a few things here and there once in a while. It's actually the 10th anniversary of it is coming up. So I looked at the Git repo, and the first commit was in 2014 in October, I believe. So 10th anniversary coming up.
Congratulations, man. That's really cool. Like,
Yep.
I don't have anything that old on Git. That's for sure. So what got you into computers?
Oh, I grew up in the 80s, enough said.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had the Commodores and the Sinclairs, and we had some Swedish machines also that nobody knows about, and it was I don't know. Most of my friends who got them, they just played games on them. I thought that I did some gaming, but mostly I found it fascinating to do stuff, make the machine do things for me.
That's cool.
But it was fun.
So it's funny because I'm sitting here thinking about the things that so my first language when I started, you talk about the Commodore 64 and, we had some assembly and stuff. And of course you had BASIC, but I picked up Turbo Pascal on CPM machines when I was, and that followed with Turbo C, which it was interesting because I actually pulled Turbo C out for the talk that we did in meeting. I don't miss that interface. But for having been in this for as long as we both have, you've been with your company that you're at now for quite a while, right?
Yeah. First, I just have to say it was fun that you mentioned Turbo Pascal on CPM. You're the only person I know beside myself who did use that.
Top down.
Yes. Okay. I hate this question because it's a bit weird. I'm working from the inside. I have been doing so for quite some time, as you mentioned. I joined originally, I must say. I originally joined in 98, in the spring of 98, so that is some time.
Oh.
But I've actually left the company twice, done other things, and decided to come back.
And so I was looking at your LinkedIn, so that's where the question came from, because I saw that. But the other part I was kind of leading to, I think, is the fact of, for what NetInsight does, the kind of code you're writing is probably dealing a lot with the performance in various latency environments, or do you work on specific parts? If you can talk about what you work.
So I've been involved in pretty much everything in R&D at NetInsight, doing various stuff, except we make our own hardware for data transmission, and we do most of the bit shoveling in FPGAs.
Oh, okay.
So most of the software is actually just to configure the FPGAs to start doing their job. So most of the code is not very performance critical, at least not in terms of bandwidth. They can be in terms of response time to some events, but there are some cases where performance really matters. And also, one of our product families is about doing video streaming in software, which I have worked with. And there, of course, then thinking about memory layouts for cache efficiency, etc., is super important. So it depends on what you do.
Oh wow, yeah, that's true. The stuff that I work in it's transactional. It's credit card processing. So I only have to be fast for them in the moment that you hit that one swipe. But then doing that over 100,000 transactions an hour as they're all coming in, that becomes the scaling part of it, right?
Yeah. The interesting thing though is that what is performance critical is code that should ideally never run, because it's about handling a catastrophic event where you need to be swift in reacting to it. But of course, the catastrophic event should never happen.
Right.
So all the normal performance tuning advice goes out the window.
Yeah, that's true. And then it becomes your most performant code, because if you do it right, it never happens, right?
Yeah. I mean, it can happen because of things that are completely outside of your control. Somebody uses a digger and cuts a fiber, that you have to react to that.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's a different level than what I end up having to do with credit cards. The credit card fails, I'll reply back, and somebody might have a sad day, but it just has to happen fast. Someone else for our side is taking care of that network if they hit the cable. So ACCU, so I brought up Pascal and stuff because ACCU, I think the thing that's different, again, backing up, I started volunteering at CPPCon and I hadn't heard of ACCU, just being on this side of the world. And so, but ACCU has been running a long time. And I know it goes back, I'm sure the conference goes back well before, our YouTube videos that seem to have in our history. How long have you remember like your first time you went to ACCU?
I do remember it, but it was an odd occasion. I'm not sure when it was. It was still in the previous location in Oxford. Currently, it's in Bristol and has been for quite a few years. But that was just a one-off thing that I went to that. I begged my manager to be allowed to go to a conference, and I could go, and I was overwhelmed with so much happening. But then it was a pause for a couple of years before I could go again. So I'm not sure when I was there.
Okay, but the not being sure when I was there just talks about the institution, if you will, that the ACCU conference must be, because that's like, I can tell you, I've been to DEF CON. I started going to DEF CON when it was DEF CON 6. And this, my last DEF CON I went to, I think, was DEF CON 3rd. And so it's, it's been interesting to see how conferences have shaped some of the things. DEF CON, of course, is security, but how it's shaped the gatherings that we've had that, seem to have started. But ACCU, I think the other thing that, at least unique to me from other conferences is it's I don't want to say language agnostic, but it's not a C++ only conference. It's
true. And that is one of the things I really, really like about ACCU. So I can say my two favorite conferences of all conferences I've been to are ACCU and NDC Tech Town. And what's common with both of them is that they are not language specific. They tend to have a lot of focus on C++ and adjacent problem domains, but they are not about those languages. That is not it. It's so you can go and listen to talks about work culture, about how to use Git in a good way, or talks about Python,
right,
and so on.
So that's interesting to me too, because like as much as I've had my periods at the company I'm currently at where I've written C++ for a year straight, but it's interesting because right now I'm actually doing C++ and, I'm running some Golang. That's one of my projects is fully in Golang. And then on top of that, other projects helping with volunteering for conferences are now using Python, which I've never done Python before. And I joked in my last talk, I'm not so sure about the whole self thing, but it's been interesting to learn, the lunch ordering will be taken care of thanks to Python. So do you have another favorite language outside of C++?
I'm ashamed to say that C++ is really the only language that I feel comfortable with, because that is the one language that I have worked with for a very long time. So I think it's fair to say that I know it quite well, despite that it is a pretty bizarre language and difficult to know everything about it. I know Python well enough to get work done, but I'm not good.
Same.
Currently, I'm actually diving headfirst into TypeScript, which I don't know at all. So this will be super interesting.
Do you find lots of learning between the languages? Like with TypeScript, as you started to do that, have you learned something in TypeScript that made you go, oh, about C++?
Yes. Not yet.
Not yet. So I ask because Golang, the amount of, like everything out of Golang, it feels like tuples are being returned. So, because every time there's a lot of functions in Golang where you will return some value and then the error and some other value. And so it was just interesting because I never used tuples and returns that much in my C++. And then I spent about 6 months in Go. So now I'm using return tuple all the time. So your keynote, which we have, you close out the conference this year. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's I'm always very tense building up to giving a talk. So it's when I have given my talk, I can relax and start enjoying the conference. And that doesn't really work in this case.
Yeah. So learning is teaching is sharing, which I'm going to jokingly add is caring.
Yes.
What can you give us some highlights of what keynote's going to be about?
Okay, so yeah, the title really says it. It's about. I'm trying to look at how we together you and your colleagues together can improve, be better as a team or as an R&D department, or how you work together. And I think one of the keys to this is information sharing. That you need to have a free flow of ideas, and also about embarrassments, because we all make mistakes, of course, except for the people who never do anything at all. They don't make mistakes, but otherwise people do. And that information is important to share. But I'm going to actually use parallels to a work environment that I'm not going to leak currently.
Okay.
That it literally was deadly, a deadly culture where literally people died because
Oh,
of the culture. And I'm also going to use a really weird example. I'm going to show a little bit about how to do engine management on a World War I fighter aircraft.
right on. Okay. So I'm getting a sense of so I saw you do a lightning talk, which I thought was aptly named because, I'm right outside of Phoenix. And so I will say it was a beautiful, I loved it. It was one of my favorite talks you've given. And I do think it's interesting on the C++ point, just because like the benefit of being in a language that deep is your talks on C++ have just been, likewise. I always come away learning new things. So I appreciate the time you put into it. But I will be excited to see your keynote, your end note for that matter, to close out ACCU. But I do feel for you about the speaking last.
Yeah, yeah.
Should
Now it's I also I thought a lot about what do I want to talk about, because that is one of the, for me, unexpected and kind of weird things when you give a keynote, that it's the conference organizers say, hey, do you want to do a keynote? And I say, yeah, I can do that. Okay. And that's it. So it's up to me to find something to talk about. And since we talked a couple of minutes ago about how ACCU is not a language specific conference, and I thought, yeah, pretty much everything I have talked about has been C++, and I don't want to do a C++ keynote, because the keynote, you're speaking to the entire conference. Everything else, you have a number of tracks, and people can choose to go to your talk if they find the topic interesting. But for a keynote, you speak to the entire conference, and then I don't want to choose a subset of the audience as my target, and the rest I don't care about. That doesn't feel fair. So that's why I decided after some thinking to share some of my experiences with what I think has worked and has not worked so good about how teams work together.
That's cool. And it's kind of interesting because I like to use the word interesting. I when I do these interviews and such, I feel I'm a good developer. I love what I do. But I always like doing the interviews because then I get to know more of the, especially because it's with speakers or trainers, it's like that bit of life, that bit of personal part. Because if you want to see a video that specifically covers, why you should use a certain C++ feature, generally that's what the talk's about. I like to learn, just like where you started in the coding, and, when was your first time at ACCU, because those are the parts, I want people to come to ACCU and enjoy it. The great conference, but that's that part where I'm excited to go to it. I want to have other people get that part too. And I'm tangenting a little bit, but it's like there's so much that we have that's language specific. So it's really nice to see our humanity as developers. I don't know if we bring that out that much, and so that's cool.
Kate Gregory has done that a lot, and she's done some really good talks about that.
I have to say, big shout out to Kate, because she was she's the reason I started. My first CPP-Con was because she said you needed to go. My first lightning talk was because she said, hey, we were working together, and she's like, there's this bug here, you got to give a lightning talk on it. And so I have not got to C++ North, so I have not seen Kate in a couple of years, so I need to do that this year. But
yeah, dude, I was there last year. It was a really good conference, so I strongly recommend it.
Excellent. But right now, we're still talking ACCU. So it kicks off Monday, the 15th of April with pre-conference classes. I know that we've got Matus and Nico are giving classes, and Pete Summerlad. Kevin Henny is actually doing a class too, which
I saw that.
is I was excited and like, because I love watching his talk. So but then the main conference starts on the 17th and runs to your end note.
Yep.
Are you excited to get over there?
Yes, absolutely. It's always a great conference. There are so many interesting talks, and there are a lot of interesting people there. And yeah, as you said, I've been to ACCU quite a few times, and what happens when you go back several times? There are others who go back to the same conference several times. So I have a number of people that are sort of my ACCU friends that I only meet there, and I'm looking forward to meeting them.
Yes. And I totally understand that, because it's the same thing with the conferences I volunteer at. They're definitely the people that this is the conference we get to see and catch up and hang out and, talk a little shop, but talk more life. And so, so speaking of talking life, I appreciate you giving me your time this morning, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure being here.
Oh, absolutely the same. And I will see you in a little less than 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, scary thought. I haven't finished my slides yet.
Wait, that's going to be it'll be Monday, and you'll still be finishing at least a slide. I mean, like you said, it's not the easy part. I will say, meeting C++, I got paired up, my first talk that I'd done in like 5 years, and, right after Björn, but it was at least the second, the first talk right after Björn spoke, which is scary because it's right after Björn, but whatever it was going to be, it was going to be done.
Yes.
I think I slept through the next session because that was all the energy spent.
Yeah. That's how it works. Yeah. But post-presentation brain doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it does not. Björn, thank you very much. Yep. I hope you have a great afternoon, evening.
Thank you.
See you at the conference.
See you at the conference. Bye.